can't begin to thank you enough, just on behalf of my chapter, that so many of you turned out. You know, you can have an event, you can have something that you're doing, and then you can say, hey, if you're interested in coming, we'd like to have you join us, and then to have such a beautiful turnout. So thank you for being here to be a part of our party, our celebration. But I want to say, first of all, we have our organization, we have a whole national organization region, and then we have the state organization, which is the CSSDAR, and we're very honored to have with us Lori Smotherman, who is recording secretary with State DAR. And as I said, then it goes into a district level, and we also have our District 2 Regent, Bobby Bennett. And Vicki, I don't see Vicki. Vicki maybe, oh, she's back. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Okay, Vicki is, she's a registrar, and she's also the regent for the Sacramento chapter. And are there other state levels or district levels that I should have mentioned and didn't holler out?
Yes, Don Witherspoon, Assistant Director.
Oh, there we go, Don Witherspoon. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask for just a moment, would all the current regents, now regent of a chapter is like a president of that club, if you will, and we have a number of them here. So if you are a current regent or a past regent, would you please stand so we can honor you? Look at this. And there's Ellen back there. She's good. These women give so much of their time. I just can't thank you enough. And I always said that I think Bobby has a clone. So, a number of chapters are represented here, and we also have a number of people from the community. One I want to honor is Lloyd Crockford. Lloyd has his back to me. He's Betty's husband, and you're going to hear more about Betty. And Lloyd is very special and deserving of applause. We also have a group present. I saw some of them come in. They're the Eldorado Save the Roses. Eldorado Roses, not Save the Graves, Save the Roses, it's Save something. Eldorado Roses. This is a wonderful thing that they do in the El Dorado County. They thought, you know, it's nice to have beauty competitions and that sort of thing. But what about women who are 60 and older who have done amazing things in their community? So they have this event, and an El Dorado Roses is selected every year, and they do ribbon cutting and that sort of thing. But as is the way of the El Dorado Roses, they don't stop there. They show up. They show up again and again, and they show up at events, and they add costumes. Would our El Dorado Roses please wave their hands so we can see you? Thank you very much. Oh, very nice. And Jeanette, it's my video. Sometimes they come in costume for the DAR, sometimes they are. It's just wonderful, wonderful group. Another group that's here that's very wonderful, and our president is here. Shoot. And I've seen him, and I've talked to him, and I fixed his button actually today. Mike Roberts. And Mike Roberts is with Save the Graves. Save the Graves does restoration, all sorts of things to literally save the graves, but they also do historical and events and reenactments and that sort of thing. I mean, they're just a wonderful, wonderful group. And some people, like Kim Richwine, is a regent, and she's also a Save the Graver. So there, thank you for being here. And I think that's it. And my own chapter, my own beloved chapter, my tenure is ending, and it's hard to say that. This is a wonderful chapter. So if you're with the El Dorado chapter, wave your hands so we can see you. Look at them. Just look at them. You know they're wonderful because you can see them there. Okay. That's who we are. Now, but that's not why you came. You might have come to hear about Lucy. Yay, but good luck me. Thanks, Chris. Yay, you did a whole article about her that I read. I was telling my husband, this is the only time I've given a presentation where there are people in the audience who probably have deep information that I don't have. So holler out if you see something differently from what I described. What I'm going to do is tell you about her, tell you why we're here, and then I'll give you some gossip that we read and show you a few artifacts that we found along the way. So starting with, why are we here? Let's see, did I push it the right way? It's her fault. It's her fault. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. Betty Crockford. It's her fault. We all have these people in our organizations. They're fun, they're sharp, they're driven, they get the job done. So you just want to be with them, and that's who Betty is. So when Betty said, I'm interested in looking at, I'm thinking about a historical marker. Does anybody want to join me? Dee, you're another one. It was Betty. So of course I raised my hand, as did others. And so the first time we met, we're talking about something, there we go. We were looking at a lot of different ideas, and somebody said, but you know, this is the 250th birthday of America. Maybe we should look at a historical marker. It's not just a 250 marker, but it's something that kind of encompasses being sensitive to that. Well, here's a surprise. We're not among the 13 original colonies. So we thought, well, how about, is there a woman who had a significant role in this community? So one of our members of the committee said, well, let me go see if I can find anyone. The next time we met, she said, a name that keeps coming up in El Dorado County is Lucy Stoddard, and I think there's a lot of research that's been done about her. Well, for all of raise your hand if you're a researcher or a genealogist. Anybody? Yeah, well, yeah, all of us. So the research is there to be had, and some of them to be dug out. I mean, it wasn't that easy. But we said, well, that sounds really promising. So that was Ann Chambers, who wasn't able to be here today. But the next time we met with Ann, I kind of felt like this happened simultaneously. Ann had found 2 letters that were at the Huntington Beach collection. One was a letter from Lucy Stoddard. The other one was a letter from a childhood friend, perhaps a relative. And that was interesting. Handwriting was not her forte. She didn't care. She was a busy woman. But we also came across this book, and Mary Corey, who was with the El Dorado Historical Museum, sent us an excerpt from this book about Lucy Stoddard. Now, if anyone knew Jack Winkler, he just died. Oh, if you have any contact information for their family, would you let me know? Because I tried to let them know how important his book was. This is a book about Old Hangtown, and it goes into, I think it's like 8-year spread from, 1848 to 1856. And it's just a smooth read. And then when you look at the bottom, footnote, 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 so well documented. It was like, I don't want to sound sacrilegious, like picking up a Bible. It's like, oh my God. So that really formed the basis. And what was important about what we read was it's about this period of time that Lucy Stoddard came here, very poignant story, went through difficult times, and then 1852 hit, and boy, life changed for her. This letter was written in 1852. It's her own hand, her own words, and you can hear her voice talking, communicating very candidly with her friends, talking about her experiences and what her vision is and what her hopes are. So as we were looking at this as a committee, there was this kind of sigh that went across the group, and someone said, I love Lucy. And we all laughed just like you would say, so do I. So I'm going to take you quickly through what we know about Lucy, what we've heard about Lucy. And then Marilyn, you'll get to know Marilyn. Marilyn would actually read the words from the plaque. We'll do an unveiling. And then Boa Vista has been very gracious with providing us with apple slices. So what we know about Lucy was she was born in 1818 in Connecticut. And she's born actually in Waterford, but this is New Haven, and I know it looks dark. And this is a later picture, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. But New Haven is the birthplace of a university. Anyone know? Yale. It's Yale University. She was born in 1818. Yale started in 1701. This is the university town that she grew up with. She grew in a place where the intellectuals were there thinking and talking all the time. And sir, do you need a chair? Okay, you know we're here for you. Okay. So And apparently, I didn't see the documentation, but a lot of people cite that in 1842, she married a guy named John Wakefield, and apparently she was advised to not marry him. And that was before she got to her brighter side, because she married him anyway. And in 1849, they decided they're going to California. She grew up in an intellectual town, kind of pretty, Yale University. They were on their way to Hangtown, 1849. So this is 1849. Yeah, really. We know. You've probably seen this picture before. I'm a city girl. I have no concept about how anybody could even conceive of going here. She might have come with two brothers. Again, I haven't seen the documentation for that, but we know what the journey was like because we live here. They were on a wagon train. It took months and months, hard conditions, and this is 1849, so the cutoffs weren't always there. They were taking the harder routes. This didn't happen easily. And it was, well, basically it was a horrible trip because Lucy was traveling with John. And it sounds mean to say, but the amazing thing to me was whether it was a newspaper article and the letter back and forth with friends, you name it. If anybody knew him, they talked to people who went on the wagon train with him. They said he was a mean guy, he was disparaging to her, held her in disdain, and then he complained that she wouldn't ride with him. Well, then you go, okay, she wasn't so dumb after all, but there she was. They fortunately planned together that when they got to California, they were going to get divorced. Yes, I'm sure Lucy thought. So as hard as this trip might have been, I think every step along the way she's thinking, and I can start my new life soon. I can create a new me. I can create my own future. And it wasn't a pipe dream because she had an inheritance. She could invest in it. She had some money, not to play with, but to use very wisely. So I'm guessing that she probably talked to a lot of people along the way because some of them, were coming back and forth and had been out there before. What she decided to do was to go into a business for herself. And if you're going to have a business, you want to have it right up front. You put that business on Broadway, put it where there's going to be a lot of traffic. So that's what she did. She came to Old Hangtown and she purchased some land on Main Street. And she set up a bakery. This is not her bakery because this is with the grocery store as well. She set up she bought a log cabin that had a stove and she started cooking pies. And these were pies made from dried out apples. So they were, dehydrated, so she had to have the water to feed them, fill them up, plump them up and all of that. She sold those for, if you bought a single pie, it was $200. I can't remember the breakdown of the cost, but she was making $240 a week at the rate that she was like 40 pies a day. It was crazy, crazy work. She wasn't afraid of hard work. She had a vision, and she was looking for emancipation. She wanted to be able to survive on her own, and nothing was going to slow her down. When she secured the land, I thought this was kind of interesting in Winkler's book. The dates didn't quite work the way I saw him describe it, but initially, perhaps, they didn't have the deed book established yet. But she's in a place where there's claims, surveying. So she had her property surveyed, and then later she had the deed claimed. And the reason why, this is important, in my imaginary red light. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's right here. Do you see her name? Mrs. L.A.S. Wakefield. But it was in her name. It wasn't in her husband's name. So now that she has a business going, she is happy. She did this for like a year and a half. One story said she lived with her brother, not with John. He was off in his own cabin. So now she's got a steady income. She said she didn't want to work all her life. She was just trying to get herself established. So she was ready to get a divorce, as they had talked about, as she has probably inwardly giggled about. This is a new state. This is a new county. And this county had not authorized a divorce before. So she was one brave woman, because she was a woman too, remember, at a time when the population, I've seen the figures, somewhere less than 2% or maybe 3% of the entire population were female. So she was ready to move forward. She had a living. She was going to get divorced. So the legislature had their first session. Now, John, I'm sure the reason he wanted this divorce was because he knew what life was like in England and also early New York. When you married somebody as a woman, the husband takes it all. He's in charge of all of it. And he knew she had a booming business and he wanted all of it. He didn't know about the changes in laws. There were a couple of changes that had happened that were beyond his vision. She represented herself. It's been said she had some legal advice, but she did this in defense of her own position on her own. So here we go. The first session was in 1850, I think. And the law there, I know, read it from the back row, right? This is a law that said that, and this is a change in New York, again, 1848 for New York. We were establishing our laws in 1849, 1850. We reflected this change. It said that if you owned the land before you got married, if you acquired property because of an inheritance, ching ching, it's yours, it's the wife's. The man doesn't have any right over it. That was one part of it. The next one was grounds for divorce. They had like a couple things, like adultery, which they always said is very hard to prove. Adultery, attempted murder, things like that, very, very hard to prove. But with this addition, the change was, and she did use this, she filed on grounds of extreme cruelty. You could get a divorce granted for extreme cruelty on either party or habitual intemperance. And I'm telling you, from what I read, ching ching. Everybody knew John. And I'll tell you, everybody adored Lucy. They loved her pies, they loved her. He complained about, she had gamblers, she's holding get-togethers for gamblers. They were whist parties, if I said that correctly. It's a card game. It's like saying you have gamblers because you're having a game of bridge at your house. She was sociable. She liked to dance. She was popular. Not John so much. Now, it was an all-male jury, so I'm sure he was pretty satisfied with that. That all-male jury decided in her favor. First divorce in El Dorado. Didn't take any time to do it. Free and clear. She got everything she ever had, and his property if she had purchased that as well. The only thing that John got out of the jury trial that he wanted was a fee for the court, because he had asked for that. There she is. So the first divorce. Now, I'm not a proponent of divorce, but it's not what she said. It wasn't just about cruelty. She said he is physically abusive, and she said she had bruises all over because he was such a mean person. The third session, Congress of the legislation added a couple of things. The first, if you can see that, is a name change. Yeah. She wanted her maiden name back, and she wanted Wakefield off her name. So this is in 1852 now, and it says it shall be lawful for the person who heretofore bearing the name Lucy A. Stoddard Wakefield to change the said name to Lucy A. Stoddard. So her maiden name was restored. Now, it's like 200 and some odd chapters, as they call them, in this book, and this was like number 42. Or actually, this is the one that was the later one. This is the 200 and something. But this was approved in February. It was like weeks after the first legislation took place. But then they added something more, and it said that this is because of Lucy and Lucy's experiences. This one is the one, it says, it authorizes a married woman to do something. To transact business in their own name, to be a sole trader. And they have to adhere to certain things, and the husband's not going to be liable for any debts that they incur, but they are their own proprietor. And one of the things she said about John was John never did a thing. He just sat around. She made the money. She did the pies. She hauled the water. Well, the sole trader came in, and again, it's been said that it was written because of her. thought that was pretty cool. So I said that was 1852. 1852 was a big year for her. This is when she wrote that letter, the same year. So now she has, her maiden name has been restored. Well, of course, she's going to sell land again, buy and sell. And now she's doing the pie business, but she's doing the land business as well. So the first one was the one you saw earlier. Her name was Mrs. L.A.S. Wakefield. The next one was right after the law had been passed, and it's now, can you see it? For those of you, it's right here. It's Lucy A. Stoddard. But that's not all. This is 1852. She got married. She got married to a guy who was highly respected, just like her, a guy in the community, highly respected, C.C. Batterman. Everybody adored him. Everybody adored her. And that was true for the rest of their lives together. Now look at 3 days after she got married, she purchased some land again. Look at her name. Can anybody see it? Mrs. Lucy A.S. Batterman. She didn't mind bearing her husband's name. She just didn't want it to be Wakefield. And that was the name she carried for the rest of her life. She had 2 children here. They ended up, and Chris can tell you more about this, but they ended up in Nevada. Her husband was a superintendent in mining. I think for a few years he's like the second treasurer of Nevada. I mean, they did a variety of things and always respected. And when you read obituaries for either one of them, people speak so highly of them. So this is a woman who lived and loved and was very happy. Well, now it's time for our application. And it's a great story. We all love Lucy, but we have to go through DAR. We have to go to the application process. And we have Betty. Betty who says, just like with the DAR application, every line you have to prove everything you put down. Can't just base it on, stories that somebody synced on. It has to be true. So we talked to, actually this was Marilyn, she talked to John Oldham. It's a captain or something in front of it. It's one of our chapters. Captain, okay. She found out that they had recently approved an application. The DAR organization is a very sharing group, so they immediately said, we'll share our application with you, give you an idea of what it's like, which was very, very helpful because right away we could see what some of our work was. Up here it says it's a minimum of 6 months to get this thing done, so don't hold your breath. It's going to take a while. Don't call us, we'll call you. And then in the application, at the very beginning, the first thing they want to know is, where are you going to put this marker? And is there already something there that we should know about? And then the next thing is the verification of historical facts. Betty, every single line you must prove. And then the last one, this is kind of a fun one, because this reflects the community, at least 2 letters from non-DAR historical experts. Well, oh my word, we had a few to choose from. D. Owens gave us a letter. I mean, Betty was trying to write down what her specialties were. It's a paragraph. It's like you, so many of you. But we did want to figure out exactly where we were going to put the plaque, and it turned out that wasn't easy because we knew that in 1856, there we go. In 1856, and in the back row, if you could read that one on the right. The reason I put this up here is because there were a lot of newspaper articles about it. So the first one was in April, and you can see on the left, if you look towards the bottom, there's kind of an itemized column of the value lost. That's what that one is. Andrew, where did you go? There you are. Okay. The one on the right, he's with the Mountain Democrat. The Mountain Democrat had just wonderful old articles. I think they started in 1852 or something like that. Well, in 1856, their office burned down. So this was in July. First fire was April, then July. So this is a reporter named Mr. January. He's reporting actually to the Sacramento Union, as I recall, and then other newspapers picked it up. And the reason this is so long, this is one of a number of columns for that particular article. Do you remember when Grizzly Flats burned down, and every time a road opened, somebody was driving on the road. He was going up and down the streets. just doing videos, YouTube, saying this is what's left. This house is still standing, the one beside it's gone. That's what Mr. January did. He talked about what's left in the town because everybody had to evacuate. So they didn't know what they're coming back to. And so he wrote about it. So what we did was we took information from these 2 articles, and we didn't do that. We created this map. This is from Jack Winkler's book, and it's from the 2 articles, and everything that's red is burned down, and the ones that aren't red usually were brick. But then there was another fire in October, and we took care of some more. Well, is there anything else there about Lucy Stoddard that we should know about? Yes, and it led to a much better designation for where to put our plaque. This is Miners on Main Street, and if you don't know about this, you have to put it into the internet. I couldn't find a link on the city website, but it was something that D. Owens worked on some years ago, and it's highlighting 10 miners, 10 people of the gold rush area who made a significant difference. It's a scavenger hunt, and so they plotted these medallions to keep you going throughout the city, and the last of the 10, the only female, is Lucy Stoddard. And I won't tell you exactly where it is, but the medallion, I don't know, something like about that big, maybe, something like that. And it's stuck somewhere. And Dee was one of the people that actually, the El Dorado Historical Society, everybody and her mother had something to contribute. So, but here's one thing about Dee. Again, so many organizations, but she's very active in the Oregon-California Trail Association, and she's very adept at software. So she can take mapping software and overlay. So what's the topography? Or look at the plot maps and follow who had bought the land and who did this and who did that. And she overlaid it, and I don't know, it's got a lot of yellow in it, but it's over here. And the top one, so she did an 1872 map, and I think you were figuring out what property was where, over a current map. And then she went in a little closer, and she said, oh, look at that. That's probably where Lucy's Pie Shop was. Now, for those of you who are familiar with this area, the blue is a contemporary map. So this is the Center Street parking. What do you think would be here? Anybody guess? Robinson's. It's Robinson's Pharmacy. Isn't that cool? So we talked to the owners, and they were so kind, and they said, yeah, we can put this plaque on our place. Down here. And this is Dennis Nishihara. He was the director of the community relations. I think he still is with the city of Placerville. So one morning he came and met us, and he's holding it up saying, okay, because we have, Marilyn made a facsimile of what this plaque would look like up there on the side of the wall. And like I said, the owners were just totally supportive of our doing this. So now we have the application. We're getting ready to send it in. They said expect 6 months. And DAR is a lineage committee. They don't want you to send a book to them. Give them the bare minimum. Just what do you need to prove the facts? But then, like if it's from a book, you need the title page, you need the copyright. So sometimes it's a little extra. We were worried because, look, can you see this? Yeah. Look how thick that is.
Yeah.
We had 60 pages of evidence, I know. But Betty said, prove every word. She said, prove every word, and by golly, we did. And this was the day we were doing the pagination, and Marilyn and Betty and I got together at Rayleigh's, our favorite stop, and mailed it in. We were approved in 10 and a half days.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. So we love Lucy. We love the Oldham chapter. Love goes around. But truly, this is a woman who lived, loved, left a legacy. She was an emancipated woman. She was a role model. Her niece lived with her, became a suffragette. We think that Lucy was too. We just couldn't find the journal to put that on the plaque. But an amazing woman, and that's why we're here, because we thought she was just incredible. And thank you for listening to our story. I'm now going to have Marilyn come and read what's on the plaque. And we'll have a copy of that on the way out if you'd like to have a copy of it yourself.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118,
thank you all for coming. This is just wonderful. So the plaque will read, Lucy Ann Stoddard, 1818-1895, the Placerville Pie Lady. Lucy paved the way for women by opening her own successful pie business during the peak of the California Gold Rush. The original structure of Lucy's home and bakery that once was located on this street no longer exists. 1818. Lucy Ann Stoddard, born in Connecticut. Circa 1849, she came over the plains to Placerville, California, then known as Hangtown, with her first husband, John Wakefield. 1851, Lucy wrote, I love California and probably now shall make my home and final resting place here. I have been toiling hard for the last 2.5 years, doing an almost incredible amount of work, averaging about 20 dozen pies weekly with my own hands, without anyone to fetch so much as a bucket of water. 1851, childhood friend Leslie Bryson wrote, I visited Lucy and found her living alone but actively engaged in making pies. She works early and late and seems ambitious to save her earnings and lay up money sufficient to support her without hard labor. Lucy commands the respect and admiration of all good people in the county she dwells. Circa 1852, per California state statutes, Lucy was granted a divorce, changed her name back to her surname Stoddard, operated her pie business as sole trader, and bought and sold her own property. 23 March 1895, Lucy Ann Stoddard passed away, age 76. She is laid to rest at Mountain View Cemetery, Oakland, California, with her second husband, Christopher Batterman. Lucy is remembered as a pioneer of the Gold Rush era and a champion of women's rights. Marker placed by El Dorado Chapter NSDAR 2025, with thanks to El Dorado County Historical Society and El Dorado County Historical Museum.
Now it's the drum roll time. Betty, would you join us? Would the members of the committee join us, please, for the unveiling of our plaque? As I said, Ann's not able to be here. Sally, you're part of the committee. Lori is part of the committee. Another person who was not able to be with us was Terry Prouty. This was the most enjoyable committee I've ever been on in my life, and so productive. And that's because of Betty. But don't tell her I said so. Okay. We're gonna get on either side here. Responsibility. It is. Here. You have to pull. Everybody's gonna pull. And we're gonna count. How about if we count to 3? Thunder. Sure. 3, go. Whoa. Oh, Betty. So we gotta take pictures of you with the plaque. May I say something? No.
Carol described to you the full application was about this thick, and I lay awake nights worrying that was too much. 82 pages.
With the letters.
With all the documentation we had collected. 11 days after the committee sent the application in, I opened my mailbox from the Historian General of the NSDAR, and I'm fortunate to inform you, she said it was accepted. That made my day.
And you made it possible, Betty. You made it possible. Well, I'm going to hold these ladies here for just a few minutes. I want to thank you again. This does end their program, but not our time together. Boa Vista Orchards has generously donated, but before we go there, I'll say one more thing. Boa Vista Orchards has generously donated slices of pie, and as you go over there, please take a look at the quilt. This is a Betsy Ross quilt. We're selling it. We're selling raffle tickets as a fundraiser for our chapter special projects. So that if that's of interest to you, you might want to get some raffle tickets. And again, welcome to enjoy the pie. And thank you again so much for being here.